Hello and welcome to NPC, Next Portable Console. It's a show about the games we take with us. My name is Brendan Bigley. I'm here with Federico Vitici in his Oasis shirt.
Hi, Oasis are back. I'm also back, but like nobody was expecting me. Nobody's buying tickets to see me. You know.
No, they aren't, Federico.
Yeah,
they aren't
which
at
is
all.
sad, but hey, I'm not a rock star. So what do you want from me? Jeez.
Sally can wait, but Oasis fans can't. Well, I'm also here with John Voorhees. Hello,
Hey,
John.
Brendan, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully. I'm having a great morning. I'm like on the end of having COVID, so I'm starting to feel the brain fog lift, which is nice.
Good.
Okay.
That's good.
I have just been like messing up the smallest, tiniest tasks over the past couple of days, and this morning I woke up and was like, oh, I think my brain is operating at like 80 to 90% capacity, so I can definitely host a podcast.
Good.
Which is good for today, at least.
To give you an example of Brandon's brain fog for small tasks, yesterday I saw that he posted a new Wavelengths episode. I saw the Threads post, and then I figured, okay, I'm just gonna wait for it to show up on Spotify because I had a bunch of chores to do. It's like, I could listen. And it was not showing up. So a couple of hours later, I texted, "Hey, it's like, is this coming out on Spotify?" And he told me, "Yeah, sorry, brain fog. I totally forgot."
Yeah, I had scheduled it for like next week or something.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
Instead of when it was supposed to come out. But we're back, baby.
We are back. I have a pillow to talk about this week.
Oh boy, you sure do have a pillow.
It's not
this
what
is
you
not
think.
Just any pillow.
It's not what you think. It's not what we'll talk about it later. And amazingly, we have a new Anbernic device to talk about later in the show.
Of course we do.
There's another.
Of course
we sort of established the rule that we thought it was gonna be like every couple of episodes, but no, Anbernic is on a release streak, it seems.
No, you know what they've done? They're matching our, they heard about NPC and they decided, we got to have something for these guys every couple of weeks.
Sure. Let's save it.
It is really every 2 weeks. Like they came just under the wire this week. Like they announced this new thing literally yesterday, and I was nervous that there wasn't going to be a new Anbernic device this week.
All right, so let's dive into the Anbernic corner, I guess, of the show immediately. So I was so confused because I just saw the thumbnail initially that Brandon posted in Discord, and I thought it was the same thing we talked about last week, which was the Game Boy vertical handheld.
It's kind of close.
And it's close, and the name is close. So this is the Anbernic 46V. It's close, but it's got two joysticks. I'm guessing this is the idea. And the display is, I don't know, is this 4x3?
It looks like it. I don't think there are any details about this yet, at least not that I've seen yet.
So they do.
I'm guessing it's 4x3.
It seems 4x3 to me. Anbernic, they do this thing where they sort of showcase a new device at first with just a YouTube walkthrough. And it's always...
They're a little odd, too. They're like they have a hand model who's playing a whole bunch of different games for a long time, for like 20, 30 minutes sometimes. And that's the demo.
So what's the idea here? That you have a vertical handheld with two joysticks, which I'm guessing, like, what if you wanted to do GameCube emulation or PlayStation emulation, but in a vertical form factor?
Right.
Yes. That's basically the entire pitch of this device. And it is powerful enough to play GameCube and PS2 and Wii like pretty all right at like native resolutions at least. So I'll give a shout out to my friend Dom Nero who texted me immediately when this was announced, because this is the device that he has been telling me he has wanted for like actually about 2 years at this point. So he got basically exactly what he wanted from Anbernic. And I can see how this would appeal to a lot of people. This is another model of another Anbernic device, which, given their naming structure, I'm not going to remember the name off the top of my head, but they had another device that was like this, that wasn't this powerful, but was kind of close to this level, that a lot of people really loved, specifically because this form factor, so it's not only vertical, but it's also like really rounded.
Right.
It's really ergonomic.
It's kind of chunky.
I mean,
for something that's vertical, it's very ergonomic.
I'm watching the video again, and weirdly enough, the more I watch, the more I'm into it.
It's apparently really comfortable to hold. And I think the idea of a vertical device that feels that comfortable, that is capable of playing that stuff, I think that's like kind of a winner for a very specific group of people.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty unusual because most of them have pretty sharp corners with those, that form factor more often than not.
If this thing has the same sort of rounded back of the RG Cube, I am kind of sold on it. Like I'm looking at it now, and they're showcasing PS.
The 180.
I mean, I literally 1 minute ago I was like, okay, there's another one. It's vertical, but like as I was saying that, I was processing the idea of vertical and GameCube emulation without black bars and 2 joysticks. I am kind of into it.
That's how they get you, Federico, right there.
That's how they get me. So we don't have any release dates. We don't have any pricing info. We don't just the one video that they posted.
Yeah, literally just, hey, this exists and it'll be available for purchase eventually. Can I ask you both a question about this device? And honestly, all the devices that I think we've talked about for the past however many months we've been doing this show. How do you feel about this push that all of these manufacturers have made towards having RGB lighting on their joysticks?
So this is okay. We're getting into a whole thing here. John, you go first because I have thoughts.
So I don't feel super strongly about it. I feel like though that it's just one of those unnecessary things these companies are doing to try to differentiate themselves. And now that everybody's doing it, they're not differentiating themselves at all. So what you end up doing is you end up turning it on, going into the settings and shutting it off. Unless you're really feeling fancy on a particular day. But I, for the most part, just shut that stuff off.
I think they look great in photos and videos. They are really good marketing fodder from that perspective. In practice, because I try to minimize external light sources when I'm playing in bed at night with my girlfriend sleeping next to me. I mean, there's already a display, right? There's already that problem. And to add like even more like an additional LEDs that sometimes they animate I mean the ROG Ally has this problem, other handhelds have this problem, that it's not just the lights, it's also like they move around and they have the different transitions, and sometimes they have the breathe thing. Sometimes some handhelds, they even do the thing where they continue playing the LED pattern when they are put to sleep. Right, so the device is shut off, but the LED is continuing. No, thank you. And I mean, there's also the battery concern, and sure, maybe that's a minimal impact, but no, I don't like it. I don't use it, and I think it looks great. I think it looks really cute, but I don't use it.
Yeah, it feels...
I'm the same way.
It feels to me like there's more development work that goes into this part of these OSs than anything else, because the amount of settings for changing the color and the patterns and everything is almost infinite on these devices.
The only time I've ever liked it is on the Odin 2. There is an app that you can download called Ambi Odin. Yes, there's an app that you can get called Ambi Odin, which will turn on with the device by default, which is amazing. And it basically acts as those LED strips you can put behind your TVs that have the HDMI pass-through. So the LEDs will match whatever is happening on the screen, and it will light up the left and right sides of your Odin independently based on what's happening on the screen. And that was really wonderful while I was really deep in Dragon Quest VIII specifically, because like all of those colors are so vibrant in that game. But I wasn't using it that often. It was really just like days where it would be like giving myself like a little piece of chocolate to like just like have a nice, just like give myself a little treat. Yeah, you know? Be like, ooh, today I'm gonna turn this on.
But usually sprinkles on top today.
Ambi is also like something that I installed immediately. Were you emulating Dragon Quest VIII on the Odin? It was,
I was, the 3DS version.
How's the 3DS version?
It's I mean, this is a whole other rabbit hole we could go down. So there's the PS2 version, there's the 3DS version. Right. The 3DS version has a bunch of extra features, some extra party members, also allows you to see the enemies on the overworld, so it's not random encounters. You can like decide to run into or not run into battles, which is really a plus for a lot of people. But there are obvious trade-offs, I think, visually and also sonically. So the PS2 version has an orchestrated soundtrack. So it's really like, which one of those do you want? I'm sure somebody out there has like made some kind of mod or something, but But anyway, I'm playing the 3DS version. It took me a long time to decide which one I wanted to go all in on, but 3DS is the one that I'm playing currently.
Speaking of devices that sort of control the lights based on what you're playing on screen. I'm guessing by the time this episode is out, John, we can mention this. Philips Hue, they are releasing the new version of the, what's it called? The device that slots under your TV, the U sync box, basically. So let me contextualize here. I have a light strip behind my television that goes into this almost Apple TV style puck device that acts as an HDMI pass-through, basically, between accessories like the Apple TV itself or my PS5, and basically syncs the image from those devices to the light strip behind the TV, so that if I'm playing Dragon Quest XI, for example, and the scene is very green or red, also I see red and green behind my TV, and it syncs to the sides of to the edges of the monitor as well. So it's very accurate. There was a rumor for many months that Philips was releasing an updated version of the sync box. This 4K sync box that I have is pretty old. Only supports HDMI 2.0. It's kind of limited. They are releasing an 8K version. I mean, nobody cares about 8K, but it's HDMI 2.1. So that was one of the limitations of the previous model, and it's gonna be kind of expensive, right, John? It's like
it's $350, and it does 8K at I think 60 hertz and 4K at 120 hertz.
Okay,
which is an upgrade from the old version too.
Yeah. So that's kind of an expensive package. Also, if you consider that you gotta buy the Philips Hue only light strip on top of that. So
separately,
but I'll tell you this.
I knew you'd like this thing, Federico.
It sure makes an impression on your neighbors when you want to show off your gaming set, you know?
Yeah. I sent this to him.
And that's what it's all about, as we all know.
Yeah. I sent this to
you.
What
do other people think of this?
So anyway, we were talking about what's it called again? The 46V.
The 406V, yeah.
So I'm sure we'll have more details and possibly yet another one. But the next episode,
I think what we learned today, Federico, is that you're not okay with RGB on your thumbsticks, but you're okay with it behind your television. Is that essentially where we've wound up?
I think that's an accurate description. I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know how I square that circle. But
because like behind the TV, it also creates a whole vibe. You know, like I don't need a vibe under my thumbs. You know, but in the living room, in the living room, it's a whole other context. So yeah.
Got it.
Okay, we need to talk about Retroid, and
we do.
We have to talk about Retroid.
And I feel like I need to be educated about Retroid because at the moment I own 0 Retroid devices.
Same here.
Okay, so Brandon.
Okay, I can catch you up then. I can catch you both up. So Retroids existed for a long time. Their biggest hit initially was the Retroid Pocket 2, which was this like really rectangular device with a 4x3 screen, and just like really bizarre looking. I might be wrong about this. I feel like I saw one way back when, like they were selling at retail at like Urban Outfitters and stuff in like the nostalgia section of Urban Outfitters at one point. I might be wrong about that. I would love if somebody could either confirm or deny that. But anyway, they've been around for a long time. The Retroid Pocket 3 was the first one that I bought, and it looked a lot like a really plasticky, transparent PSP in a lot of ways. Had a 16:9 screen, ran Android, and I liked it a lot. I used it to play a lot of Dreamcast stuff when we were doing a big Dreamcast episode for Into the Aether, and the big thing about the Retroid Pocket 3 and the subsequent 4 is that they both basically felt like, what if you were holding a smartphone that just happened to have buttons on it? And that is a blessing and a curse, basically, because that meant it wasn't ergonomic really at all. It was just like a very flat back. So I found myself not really playing it that often. And that said, Retroid is also a sister company of Ein, who makes the Odin. They're both owned by the same company. So Retroid is kind of like the mid-tier pricing version of Ein's Odin lineup in a lot of ways. So the Retroid Pocket 4 and the 4 Pro got to this place where the overlap between those two companies was like a little bit closer than I think they were expecting or anticipating. And that's why the very quick, because that came out earlier this year. That came out, I think, in like January, February. That's why the announcement of the 5 and the Mini have been so weird, is because like you were already getting pretty close to what the Odin is doing. Now, if you're going to increase performance at all, you're like directly competing with yourselves, especially considering the Retroid lineup is supposed to be cheaper than the Odin lineup in pretty much every regard. And we don't know the prices yet, but we do know the specs of the Retroid Pocket 4 and the 5 and the Mini. And they're fascinating. It's fascinating what they've decided to do, because all they've really done is change the chipset to Snapdragon chips. And that doesn't really, this chip in particular doesn't really change a lot about the capabilities of the device, like out of the box. It's actually very similar to the Retroid Pocket 4 and 4 Pro in terms of power and performance. The big thing about Snapdragon, and this is what has a lot of people really excited about it, is that you can update the drivers on it like you can with the Odin. And what that means is that over time, your Retroid Pocket Mini or Retroid Pocket 5 will just continue to get better as community developers and like Qualcomm themselves continue to update the drivers on these things, which is an interesting place to be. I will say, from having used the Odin, and I'm sure the two of you can attest to this as well, but you update the drivers on those things, and sometimes games that are unplayable suddenly become playable. Like, it is really a night and day difference.
Or the other way around.
With the or the other way around.
Right.
And it's kind of nice that they let you just like choose. Like, a lot of the emulator apps will just allow you to choose which driver you want per game, which I think is really nice. The bigger thing for me, honestly, like, I think this is all very interesting, and I'm kind of excited to get my hands on one eventually. But the thing that's biggest to me is what I was talking about before. The fact that both of these just like have any ergonomics at all, like they thought about it, like the back has like kind of like rounded grips for your hands to go on both the Mini and the 5, really is the thing that I think will make me recommend this to people. Because the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, honestly, like for a lot of people, I think it's probably the best device to buy. And I think the 5, depending on how they price that thing, and the Mini might end up becoming that device that I recommend to the most people. The other big announcement yesterday and this morning, even as of the time of this recording, they just announced that it will also support a bunch of Linux distros as well. So like Batacera will run on it, which opens the door for things like Portmaster, which is also really exciting, because having like a really powerful device that runs Portmaster, I think, could be very interesting. Because a lot of the devices that people are testing Portmaster games on right now are things like the SP from Anbernic, and things that are, you know, kind of lesser power wise. But I think these are shaping up to be really interesting devices. And size wise, you know, the 5 is about the size of the Switch Lite. The Mini is closer to the size of like a PlayStation Vita in that regard. I mean, if they get the price right on these, this is going to be like the go-to, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I've seen speculation that the price would be like 150 for the Mini and 200 for the 5, or else 200.
That would be wild.
Or 200 and 250. Those are the two different things I've seen speculated online. And we should mention too that these have OLED displays, so these are going to be really nice displays on top of everything else.
Yeah, and I'm also fascinated by this attention being paid to ergonomics. I feel like a lot of manufacturers over the past couple of years have mostly prioritized like for example, you look at A and E, right? These devices, they look really high, like really high quality, premium feeling, premium looking, almost Apple-like in feel, at the expense of ergonomics, though. And so you have a bunch of these devices that have flat backs, and they're not exactly
analog is the same way. Analog
like,
Pocket.
They're not exactly comfortable to hold, and I'm fascinated by this. Now that they have sort of like they have this foundation with the Snapdragon chips, and they can say, okay, well, pretty much set on these chips that we can get for cheap and put into these consoles. We have these displays, we have Wi-Fi 6 or 6E. Now maybe we can turn our attention to the comfort and the grips. And I think it's a really fascinating decision. And especially like it kind of all started with the RG Cube in a way, Like it was the first device in a long time that I saw. I was like, feels and looks comfortable, and it is. It absolutely is very comfortable to hold, and so it's something that I appreciate, and something that I would like more companies to take more seriously instead of having to go to Etsy and buy a 3D printed adapter.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that the Odin 2 really led the way with this, right? And I think that is one of the things that really turned a lot of people on to that. And now you're seeing it trickle down to these more affordable models as well. And what's interesting about the Retroid Pocket 5 and Mini to me is that because they're related companies, but Retroid is kind of more the mid-tier type of device, you almost have like mid-tier ergonomics. It's not quite as rounded as the Odin, I don't think. It feels like they wanted to somehow differentiate the way it's built from the sister company as well. So that's kind of interesting too.
I will say though, just design wise, I think the 5 looks amazing.
I agree.
Like it's a really pretty device. It is it's like close to Neo level design, which I think is really interesting. And the OLED display, the AMOLED display. I mean, if they can get even 250, John, to your speculative point, like I think 250 is like a steal for that device in particular.
There's an amazing GameCube version coming too. There's 4 colors, and I love the GameCube one. Yeah.
The colorways are great. They're also releasing replaceable back shells as well.
Right.
So you can swap the color on the back. And I feel like the GameCube front with the transparent white back is going to be like maybe the coolest device ever made. I don't know. I'm so into that thing. I was not going to get one of these initially because, like, again, the Odin 2 Mini is just like so solid that I kind of don't feel the need to buy a device like this for a while. But the 5 just seems so interesting to me that I feel like I need to pick one up and at least give it a shot and test it out.
So you will be able to choose a Linux distro to install on these ones?
Yeah,
I don't know. They haven't really announced how that's going to work. They just kind of announced that it will.
Yeah, I think
work.
they announced.
And I even saw the developer.
2 different ones, right? Batacera and something.
One
else.
of them is Batacera. Yeah, I forget what the other one is, but I saw one of the main developers of Batacera reply to the Retroid account and be like, "Hey, why are you saying that you're an official Batacera device? We have not had any conversations about this." And Retroid was like, "I'm going to DM you," and then that was obviously the end of like the public conversation about it. So I think it's maybe one of those they put the cart before the horse situations. But either way, I'll be interested to see if it's like a dual boot situation. Like hold the power button and volume up or something while it's turning on, and you can switch between Android or Linux. But I'm stoked about this because there are just some games that run better on Linux than they do on Android and vice versa. I prefer Android in a lot of cases, but if I can boot into Linux and use Portmaster, then I will do that, definitely. Just more options for more people. It's always going to be good, especially for this kind of hobby and this niche where people love to tinker. Like having both on one device.
I feel like there's a world in which a year from now, we're talking about these devices and they can all run an official open source version of SteamOS. And that makes me so excited.
Oh my God.
Imagine because it basically becomes like, if we follow that theory, it becomes like a Steam Deck Mini, right? If you have something so small that can run SteamOS, and Valve, like we discussed this the previous episode, Valve has said we want to release SteamOS publicly, and so the idea of like you have a Retroid Pocket Mini, or even an Odin 2 Mini, and you can put the official SteamOS on it. Oof. That's gonna be so sweet. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be.
We'll get there. I think you're right. I think like within the next year. I think that's a possibility.
Speaking of, there's more companies here. I can't believe we're mentioning this one. MSI, they're making another claw.
It's a do-over, Federico.
It's a do-over,
obviously.
and now it's got AI in the name, so it's good, right?
It does,
and thank God, because that's what everyone thought the first one was missing.
It's not just AI, Federico. It's AI plus. Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, it's, in case you're out there and you're one of the few people who got the original MSI Claw, and you thought, man, you know what's really missing from the MSI Claw? It's AI plus. Well, now you have it.
I think that AI Plus thing is an MSI computer convention in their marketing, and they left it for the Claw. And as I think that this article in videocards.com points out, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Claw.
Yeah. So this is a follow-up to the original Claw, which was the very poorly received Intel-based Windows handheld by laptop maker MSI. There are some...
That was like 3 months ago, right?
Yes,
that was
like
like
3 months ago.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was like,
like really
yes,
recent.
it was in the spring, February, March, somewhere in there.
It does have this MSI, this revision. It does have some nicer things about it.
Sure.
2 Thunderbolt 4 ports instead of 1. The same 80 watt-hour battery capacity that we have found in the Ally X, as opposed to the 53 watt-hour battery in the original Claw. 16 by 10 aspect ratio instead of 16 by 9. That's about it. Oh, 8-inch display instead of 7.
Yeah,
So-
and it's a Lunar Lake. I think the old one was Meteor Lake,
Yeah, this is
which
Lunar
has
Lake.
had a lot of issues. Yeah.
That's really it. I mean, you're basically looking at
Yeah.
a screen sort of approaching the size or basically the same size as a Legion Go.
Yep.
With none of the benefits of a Legion Go, like the detachable controllers.
And none of the things that they're changing are the problems that
No.
people had with the Claw. It's worth mentioning. Like the Claw was mostly knocked down because of its software
Yep.
issues.
And the performance of the
Which-
Intel stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say. We're gonna talk about this problem with the next company as well. Acer, the other laptop and computer manufacturer, they're also teasing their own handheld based on Lunar Lake. So this is the this is the Nitro Blaze. Great name.
It feels like this was marketed the same way they marketed World of Warcraft when it first came out. Do you know what I mean by that?
No, what do you mean?
I don't know. I watched that announcement trailer for the Nitro Blaze, and I was like,
Oh, all right.
this feels like watching G4 Tech TV in the year 2004. This is an ad made for like a
It
7th
does,
grader
Right.
it
in
does
a lot
have
of ways.
that
And
vibe.
like,
yes.
7th grader 20 years ago.
I don't know. I mean, okay. I mean, we knew this was gonna happen, right? More and more PC manufacturers are gonna release their own handhelds, because the handheld is sort of becoming the third form factor in a way. There's the desktop, there's the laptop. They try to do tablets, but now most of these companies are doing handhelds, which I think is a fascinating idea, and I'm obviously happy because that's what we're gonna talk about here on the show. I am very skeptical of these handhelds that run the Intel-based architecture. I think they have a lot of performance considerations to worry about, especially compared to AMD. I think when it comes to the big handhelds, when you're approaching the size of a Legion Go, if you don't do like built-in features like detachable controllers and kickstands like that, if you don't have that flexibility, you're going to run into a problem, because those handhelds, they get really heavy. At the same time, there's the big problem for all of these other companies making handhelds in the 7-inch range, which is the Ally X. And the Ally X, like, bang for your buck. Is that the expression in America? Bang for
That's
your buck?
it. You got it.
That's a
Yeah.
that's
You
a thing
nailed
you
it,
guys
yeah.
say. But like, it's incredibly good value, right?
Yeah.
From, I mean, sure, we can talk about the problems with the original Ally, but Asus, they are a relatively reputable brand, and the Ally X is incredible value for what it is and what it does. So I honestly don't know what to think of the MSI Claw coming up with a new version 3 months after the original one that was panned in basically every single review, and Acer making what's it called again? The Nitro Blaze.
Nitro Blaze.
The Nitro Blaze.
For the true gamer, capital G gamer.
Yeah.
It's got the,
it just sounds like it should also be a vape.
yes,
You know?
yes. It sounds like
Yeah.
it should be a vape with a display on it that shows you notifications from X.com. That is,
Yeah, and you can also play Brick Break on it.
it's got
Nitro Blaze it.
and
That's
it's
gonna
and
be
it's
their
got
tagline.
LEDs for sure, because when you put it in your mouth, it's got LEDs. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
Federico, Acer has an even
I was
more
waiting for this.
insane
I was
story.
waiting for this. Go for it. It's all yours.
Okay.
It's all yours.
All right. So this is a
this
concept, okay? This is a
Okay.
concept laptop that Brendan shared with us the other day. And it's called Project DualPlay.
Okay.
And what Acer has done
Better name.
is that they have embedded a controller into the trackpad of a laptop. Now you might wonder, how is that possible?
does it go?
I'm still, even after seeing this picture, I'm not entirely sure
Where-
how this works either.
There's no physical space in there. Like
Well, I think this is going to be a very thick laptop, one.
yeah. I mean,
Two, it supposedly works where it's upside down. So the back side of the controller is your trackpad when it's inside the laptop. Then you press a button.
You're totally right.
Press a button. The controller comes out. Two little speakers come out from the side, supposedly 5-watt speakers for the sound. And you can use the controller. And as the article I read pointed out, it's like, what do you do with that big hole in the middle of your trackpad while you're using the controller? But yeah, it's a crazy setup.
so it's
really.
like
That's where you pour your snacks.
Yeah, that's right. You put some Skittles in there.
so this is a laptop that has a little baby inside, and the baby is the controller that you pop
Yes,
out.
it has a
Yeah.
little pouch. It's like a kangaroo
It's
laptop.
like a kangaroo laptop. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah. I love the speakers
Yes.
coming out. I didn't even notice
I love
that
the
when
little
I first
wings
saw it.
that
but-
come out with the speakers.
Yeah.
Those totally won't break off.
No, why would they? Why
Oh
would
my
they?
God.
Strong Razer vibes from this computer.
Oh yeah.
In so
Yeah.
many different ways. Also, it's a concept. Will it ever come? Like, if we see.
No.
Okay.
never.
Hold on. The CES in January. Okay. Oh my gosh! I just realized we will be doing episodes of the show during CES, and it's gonna be wild. Oh my
The dream.
god! Oh
The
my
dream.
God.
It's going to be great.
Anyways, I hope they show this off at CES.
I do too.
I really want to have the laptop with the controller inside and the speakers that pop out. Oh my god, Acer.
If I go to CES and this is here, I promise
Yes.
you both and the listeners that I will bring a bag of Skittles and ask if I can pour it into the snack hole that is left over when the controller pops out.
Perfect.
Oh boy. Okay. Thank you, Acer, for your service. For providing the content. We have some other news. So let me just talk about the Legion Go for a second. As you know,
Sure.
my beloved Legion Go. I was gonna keep this as a surprise for you guys, but it's not a huge surprise, so I'll just mention it. I am waiting for some packages to arrive. I am
course
going
you
to
are.
mod the Legion Go. I specifically
Cool.
if you recall episode 1,
It's taking everything within me to not ask if you're adding a snack hole. I'm so sorry.
I am not. No Skittles in the Legion
How about a
Go.
drink a cup holder? Maybe a cup holder would be good.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it is kind of tray looking, so you can put a glass on top and carry it around if you want.
There you go.
No, so if you recall episode 2 of the show, when I talked about my GPU, that guy from
Yes.
Las Vegas, our good friend from Las Vegas, I got in touch with him again because I noticed some new Reddit posts from him. So long story short, this will probably be in the next episode. I am waiting for a custom backplate for the Legion Go. This custom backplate, it's actually kind of reminiscent of the Acer thing. It's gonna have a little pouch, and specifically, it's gonna have a little cage outside.
For an animal?
No, it's a little cage for an SSD. Okay, so I
Okay.
am going to
Cool.
mod the Legion Go so that it supports the same SSD type that you can put into the PS5. What is it called? The rectangular one, the 2280. Is that the form factor?
Yeah, I think so. I know what you're talking about.
So I am going to mod the Legion Go with a custom 3D printed carbon fiber backplate. I am waiting
Cool.
from AliExpress for an adapter to go from the SSD type of the Legion Go, which is like sort of a custom one that is super hard and expensive to buy. I'm going to convert from that SSD to 4 terabyte SSD with a heatsink that is going to go into a little cage in the back plate. and that will allow me to use 2 terabytes for Windows and 2 terabytes for SteamOS. And this will be my palette cleanser when I'm done with the iOS review. I am gonna treat myself to a little modding session, opening up the Legion Go, installing the backplate with the cage, and yeah, it's gonna look extra fancy.
I think I've seen accessories like that, Federico, like that back plate made by other companies. I forget who makes them, but I think I've seen them around somewhere.
This is made by my guy from Las Vegas.
Yeah, this is artisanal. You got to go.
We like this person on the show. So,
we do.
But in any case, I mentioned the Legion Go because finally, a year after it was released, Lenovo realized, hey, maybe it's time to release some accessories. And so they are releasing the first batch of widely anticipated and kind of late Legion Go accessories. There's an official dock that sort of looks like a rebranded JSOX dock.
Wow, it looks just like the JSOC dock. You're right.
It does look like that. They also have a keyboard that I'm pretty sure it's like a rebranded Logitech keyboard. Like they have a Legion Go keyboard that if you look at it, it just looks like one of the MX Keys mini keyboards. It just looks like that. There's 2 interesting things. They're going to do an extra large carrying case that allows you to put in the Legion Go and a bunch of accessories. But finally, the most important one is the controller wedge. So there's a bunch of... So the Legion Go has detachable controllers, right? Like a Nintendo Switch. But Lenovo never released a wedge to attach those 2 halves of the controller and use it like you would with the Joy-Cons of a Nintendo Switch, for example, when you put them into the little cradle that allows you to hold the 2 halves like a regular controller. There were plenty of 3D printed versions of these on Etsy, then on Amazon. I have one of those from Amazon.
Yeah, me too.
But there's a huge problem. They just hold the controllers. They don't charge the controllers. So eventually you're going to run out of charge and you're going to have to attach your controllers again. So Lenovo is now finally doing what Nintendo is doing. Nintendo is also releasing a controller wedge for the Nintendo Switch that charges the... No, they don't. Nintendo is releasing a different thing. Nintendo is releasing the charging station for the Joy-Cons. Lenovo is releasing a controller wedge that lets you attach the controllers and charge them via USB-C at the same time. So this is going to be nice if you always want to keep your Legion Go on a kickstand propped up in tablet mode, but also charge the controllers at the same time. I am waiting for this to come out. It's going to come out in October. There's a blog post on the Lenovo website with all the details and the various release dates. And there's also a dock and a keyboard. And to me, they look like they just teamed up with other manufacturers to release rebranded versions of those accessories. But if for whatever reason you don't have a Bluetooth keyboard and you don't have a dock and you want to get the official Legion Go ones, Lenovo is making them.
Nice. Yeah. Logitech keyboards are good, so I mean that's a smart move, I think.
They are. John, I hope you're not gonna break your 3DS or your new 3DS, because if you do,
I know
Nintendo's not gonna repair it for you anymore.
That's right. They've run out of parts, Nintendo. And to me, I saw this story on Engadget that Nintendo has started running out of parts for the 3DS, and I was a little surprised. I mean, I guess it has been quite a while now since the 3DS was for sale. It still feels like yesterday to me. But at this point, I know iFixit carries 3DS parts and they still have some, but they're not getting new ones. So I assume people, at least modders and other people, might be stocking up on these things and they'll run out relatively soon. But you can't get it repaired. And that's, just another reason why I think, being able to do things like emulate your games, your 3DS games on other types of hardware is important and a great thing, because this hardware is not going to last forever. In fact, not too long ago, I got my 3DS XL out just thinking, I'd see what it's like again to play some of these games on the original hardware. And you know what? The hardware's not that great. The screen's just not that amazing. It's fine, but I'm a little spoiled now being able to play these things on devices like the Odin. But I do wish that there was a more robust parts market for this stuff, because that's necessary to keep these things alive and for people to be able to do things like, take old ones and fix them and mod them and do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get to the point with the 3DS that we're at with the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color, where there are just other companies making their own replacement parts for this stuff. I feel like we'll have to get there eventually, because there will always be a contingent of people who would prefer to play the stuff on original quote-unquote hardware when possible. And honestly, I mean, again, for Into the Aether, we did a big 3DS episode, and although I could emulate a lot of that stuff, I did play a lot of those games on original hardware, and I think I was all the better for it. So a bummer that this is happening. I'm actually surprised that Nintendo was still repairing 3DSs at all, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of what parts they had or didn't have, like, it's incredible that Nintendo was still accepting 3DSs in the mail and then sending them back to people at all. But yeah, inevitability of this stuff. They shut down the online eShop. What was that, last year? 2 years ago. And of course they're going to stop manufacturing parts at a certain point. The weird thing, I don't know if this was ever confirmed or not, but there was a point where they had a surplus of 3DS batteries.
I vaguely remember this, I think.
This was in the Wii U era, and what they decided to do with their surplus of 3DS batteries was put them in the Pro Controller for the Wii U. And that thing, like, the best battery life I've ever experienced in a controller.
Really?
Because it was a battery meant to be running 2 screens, one of which could output in 3D. Just being used for a wireless controller for the Wii U, and you could play that thing for weeks without charging.
Wow.
Also, I remember
it was an amazing controller. Yeah, I love the Switch Pro controller, but it's definitely a step down from the Wii U one.
That
in
is
a lot of
a
ways.
take that I agree with. I think it's a very specific take, and it's not wrong.
Very specific.
Very specific and not wrong. I think we're going to talk about this one more in depth in the future. John, what is the GameBaby?
Yeah, I want to tell you about the GameBaby. This is the relative of the Game Boy, because what it is it's an iPhone case that comes in 2 parts. If you look at it head on, all you see is kind of a yellow case around your phone. But if you look at the back, the bottom part comes off, can be switched and put on the front of your phone on the screen. And you might wonder, why would I do that?
Right.
Well, because it has capacitive buttons on it, so you can use it as a controller for the Delta emulator. The buttons are all in the right positions to use with Delta. They don't require any kind of battery, Bluetooth, or any other kind of technology because they're capacitive. You turn that around, slap it on the screen, open up Delta, and you can use these buttons to play the game. Now, there are no shoulder buttons, I guess. Looking at the pictures, it's got A and B buttons, select. It's got the Delta menu buttons, I know, a few other things. But it's an intriguing device. I mean, this is something that I've seen hobbyists try to make on places like Reddit before. But this is being built by Bitmo Labs, which is a sibling company of JSaw, which we just talked about. And it's coming right now. You can pre-order it. I think they had 1,000 set aside for pre-order for $20. Ultimately, it's going to be a $40 case. So not too expensive in the grand scheme of things, at least compared to Apple cases. And I'm looking forward to trying it. I mean, who knows how well it will work? I've been in touch with them. They're going to send us out a review unit. So hopefully we'll have something to report back here before they're even available publicly. So we'll see.
And you're a Pro Max guy.
Yes, I am a Pro Max guy. That's the other thing. That's a good point, Brendan. These are, right now, it's available to order for the 15 Pro Max and the 16 Pro Max. And it looks like it's not even out yet.
The 16.
No, right. And so those are going to, I think both of them aren't going to be shipping until sometime in October. So it's going to be a little while before we can talk about these.
Man, can you imagine if the 16 Pro Max doesn't exist? No, I mean, surely it will exist. And
I love this. I wrote about this a little bit on Wavelengths, but I think one of the things that I find so interesting about this controller in particular is that it's the kind of thing that can really only exist because of the ubiquity of iOS and iPhone design, right? Like if you tried to build a thing like this for Android, you need to account for so many different kinds of devices. And that's why, at least until now, most smartphone controllers are just the like telescopic kind of clamps that you put on the sides. But building something into the iPhone like this, is a doable conceit for a manufacturer to like still make their money back. I'm very interested in this. What is the name? It's Bitmo Lab is the name of this company. It's like a spin-off of JSoft.
Yes.
I love their design, by the way. I was on their website just kind of clicking around on stuff. The other stuff that they have this thing called the Bang Case, which adds like an extra action button to your phone.
Yeah, it's a Bluetooth button that's below the action button, I think.
That I still don't understand how it works personally, but it's very fascinating, and I love the design.
Yeah, the design of their website. I mean, everything going on at Bitmo Lab. They really have my number here. It reminds me a lot of the Nothing CMF.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it does.
Design
definitely.
Did you see, Brandon? There's an article, there's actually a video on The Verge. They 3D printed a bunch of ridiculous accessories for the CMF phone with the mounting screws.
No.
So they built a backplate to comb your hair. They built a little Lego construction kit. They built a kickstand, obviously, like some absolutely wild accessories, because there was like this online competition to like build your most ridiculous CMF attachment thing. Some of them are honestly terrible. Some of them are incredibly ridiculous, and go check. There's a video on The Verge. I'm sure there's like a video to the contest. There's an actual web page for the contest somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should.
Who doesn't want to comb their hair
why not?
Who doesn't want to comb their hair?
I mean,
right? with a case, with a phone.
They made a phone with the mounting screws. What did you expect? Right?
Oh man, this one's a Nerf gun. This one turns it into just like a thing that you can build Legos on top of. Oh, color swatches. A robotic hand.
There's
sure,
the hand.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Incredible. And
I love this.
I never got into 3D printing because of this. Because I know if I get a 3D printer, that's gonna be how I end up. Just printing the most ridiculous things. That'll be the end of me.
That'll be the end of Mac Stories right there. We'll never hear from Federico again.
I'm just gonna enter God mode and start creating things just because I can.
Build a full suit of Iron Man armor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do.
Plastic Man. Sorry.
I have a mini topic for you guys. And hold on.
Sure.
We gotta talk about this thing, okay? We got. I have.
We got the.
Okay.
It's very squishy.
Hold on. So
for the listeners, Federico is resting on his gaming pillow right now. He's resting his head on the gaming pillow.
We need to talk about it. We need to talk about this gaming pillow.
I don't think that's how you're supposed to use it.
No,
Federico.
well, you can. You can. Look, it's very versatile. So we mentioned. Just stay here, pillow. We mentioned last week the Mechanism gaming pillow. From the same company that became popular thanks to the Deckmate series of mounting accessories for the Steam Deck, eventually expanded onto the ROG Ally with the Ally Mate, the Switch Mate. Now they're making this pillow that allows you to prop up a console or a phone thanks to the universal mounting accessories that they make. And the idea is you put this pillow on your lap or somewhere in bed or on a couch, and it's got this extensible arm that attaches to the back of a handheld or to the back of a tablet that has the universal Mechanism mounting accessory. Great idea. And I was immediately a fan of it. It's back-ordered. I'm waiting for the second batch of gaming pillows to start shipping. So why do I have this thing? I was watching Rusty's video at Retro Game Corps, the review of the gaming pillow, and he seemed to really like it. But he offhandedly mentioned that the pillow was very reminiscent of a similar gaming pillow from Amazon.com, and he theorized that the same factory that's making these existing pillows on Amazon is also making the gaming pillow for Mechanism. And so I was like, wait a second. Can I already buy a version of this gaming pillow on Amazon Italy? I sure did. So I have no idea what the name of this company is. But this is the same idea as the gaming pillow that Mechanism is making. But of course, it's got a different, mechanism. So it doesn't have the universal mounting attachment of the Mechanism company. This is a pretty regular clamp-based mechanism. Like
you'd see for a tablet.
That you can see for a tablet,
like
and
that.
you can attach. You can rotate it because it's got the ball attachment thing over here. You can rotate it. You can adjust the angle of the arm, and of course, you can also put something here as a little tray, like a battery pack or something. I love this thing, and I am not joking. It is life-changing, okay? It's making me anticipate the gaming pillow from Mechanism even more. I've been using this thing. Okay,
Why?
So, hold on.
You already have one.
Well, I don't like doing this, I kind of don't like, and it makes this noise at night.
Oh yeah, it's all about you.
That's one of the more horrible noises. I think. I totally am with you.
Imagine you're sleeping. Yeah. Imagine you're my girlfriend, right? You're sleeping, and then you hear this.
You think the robots are coming for you?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm looking forward to the simpler attachment system of the Mechanism pillow. But this idea of you have this sort of beanbag style, very soft pillow that you can sort of adapt to whatever you want to put it. Like you want to put it on your lap, and then you can squish it a little to make it comfortable. Or maybe you're like laying on the side in bed and you want to put this thing in front of you. So you just put it down and you attach. So I tested with the Steam Deck and the Legion Go. You just with the Legion Go, it's been extremely ideal because you detach the controllers, right? You detach the controllers. You put the Legion Go tablet up in here. Then you lay down. You put this pillow or like your lap as you're laying down. 2 controllers in each hand. I mean, it's true gamer mode at night with a pillow. Like, it's incredible. The Mechanism one will have an additional mounting point at the base of the pillow, so that will allow you to properly attach something like a battery pack or something that I received yesterday. I did not have time to test it for the show. I think I'm going to bring it to the show on the next episode. I received the Viture Dock Pro. So Viture, yes.
Oh, really?
So Viture is the company that makes the glasses, right? That you can use as a monitor.
Yeah.
They released a new version of their dock that has USB-C charging and pass-through. So it also acts as a battery pack, has HDMI in and USB-C video out with 2 ports instead of 1. So, I mean, I am never going to convince Sylvia to watch movies with me while we're both wearing AR glasses, right? It's literally never going to happen. But I could do something like, I don't know, play a game with the glasses and output to the iPad Pro at the same time to record footage because I can, right? You have 2 USB-C video out. So that's something that you can do. In any case, this thing, the Amazon version was 40 euros. I think you can get it on Amazon.com for $45 if I'm not mistaken. I recommend it, but the problem is the attachment system. It works. It's just very noisy and plasticky, and I'm more excited about the version that Mechanism is making. But if you don't care about the noise and about the clamp here, it's a dream, and it's very comfortable. And I can just record a podcast like this. I mean, it's very comfortable,
Oh, I believe it. I mentioned this to my youngest son, Federico, and his first comment revolved around Wall-E and the people floating around in the comfy chairs.
Right, yes. I mean,
second comment was a story he had seen several years ago on The Verge about an Xbox controller that had a special attachment on it for your vape. Okay. Now, I don't know why that came to mind, but you're going to get a little ridiculed for this, I think. But I can see
Wow.
the utility of it.
Look at how productive he's
Look
being.
At this. Look at this.
Oh, you got your iPad in there?
He put his iPad in there for the audio listeners.
I have a bonus pick for you guys. Okay, so this is something
What's
else
that?
that I've done.
Sure.
I was editing the iOS review at night. Put the iPad on top of the pillow, sort of floating on top of the pillow. Adjusted the angle a little. Put this thing on my lap.
Uh-huh.
Then I was laying down in bed, and I had this other thing in front of me. So this is a transparent tray that holds the Apple Magic Keyboard and the Apple Magic Trackpad.
Right.
So I was like completely laying flat, but still working.
This rocks.
Still working. I mean, what?
It's the ideal right
It's
there.
the ideal.
That's the dream.
It's a dream.
I wouldn't say I've had a full turnaround, Federico, but I've definitely gone from my back facing you to like coyly looking over my shoulder.
It's good. I mean, you can play
Yeah.
a movie here. You can watch YouTube. You can watch an episode of NPC with a little pillow by your side.
That's
You can
true.
do that.
It's the best
true.
way.
I
Perfect companion.
recommend it. Like, seriously.
A new pillow companion
Yes. NPC.
is what.
By the end of this episode, by the end of this episode, we're going to have NPC branded gaming pillows.
I'm just saying, it's especially ideal for an iPad. It's especially ideal for a Legion Go because you can detach the display.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Sure.
will update you guys again when I get the mechanism version. So there's that, the pillow.
Nice, very nice.
I love it.
Oh,
I love it. I'm so
thank
happy for you.
Thank you. I think that about does it for this episode.
I think it does.
Yeah. I think that's it. John, take us home, please.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody joining us today. You can find us all online. We've got Brendan over at wavelengths.online, and he's Brendan Bigley in most places in social media. And you can find me and Federico over at macstories.net. Federico is on Instagram, and he's on Mastodon as Viticci, Viticci, and I'm at John Voorhees in both places. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.